We have new Steelers wide receiver trade rumors to break down here on Steelers Talk. We'll get to that at the top of today's show. Then there's more smoke that Russell Wilson could be on his way to Las Vegas in a reunion with Pete Carroll and a former offensive coordinator of his in Seattle, as he's slated to get an offensive coordinator interview with Pete Carroll there in Vegas. And we'll finish up today's show with my notes and takeaways from day 2 of Senior Bowl practices, everything that Steelers fans need to know about what the Steelers are looking at in terms of the players and positions that they're hunting. Make sure you guys get down there before this video begins, before we get into the comment section, or before we get into the content, and like today's video. If you want Pittsburgh to make a big move this offseason, make sure you click that thumbs up icon and like today's show. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, now let's get into the trade rumors here, where Bleacher Report did a recent article on all the top wide receiver trade candidates and put them and linked them to the teams that they think are good fits for those receivers. And the Steelers got mentioned with San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel. Now, Deebo was, of course, rumored to the Steelers last year, along with Brandon Ayuk around the NFL draft time when the 49ers were still kind of shopping Deebo. But now this offseason, after paying Ayuk, now they have to give Brock Purdy a big contract. George Kittle's contract's coming up here. I think Deebo is probably going to be a trade candidate for them this offseason. This is what Alex K. from Bleacher Report had to say about the fit. Samuel only has one season left on a 3-year, $73.5 million contract extension he signed back in 2022. With a huge extension on the horizon for quarterback Brock Purdy and other foundational pieces needing new deals soon, the Niners could look to deal Samuel for cap relief. Samuel's value may not be as high as after he accounted for only 806 yards from scrimmage and 4 touchdowns on 93 touches this year, his lowest career marks outside of his injury-shortened 2020 season. However, he's still on the right side of 30 and could be rejuvenated with a change of scenery. Teams like the Washington Commanders and Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 playoff teams with a notable lack of pass-catching depth, might be willing to pay a premium for Samuel. He'd be an ideal addition to any contender's receiving corps as a big-time playmaker who could help with a Super Bowl push. And actually, guys, most of the times that we have trade rumors on this show, I usually shoot them down, say, it's probably not going to happen. This is one that I could actually see happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025. The reasoning, the cap hit would only be $2.12 million for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that's what his base salary and his roster bonus would be against the cap for Pittsburgh if he's traded here to the Steel City. He's 29 years old, so he is still on the right side of 30. He still brings some excellent size to the position at 216 pounds, and he's an ideal scheme fit for Arthur Smith's offense because he is such a good run blocker. He is still probably a top 5 run blocking wide receiver in the National Football League today. Plus, you can use him on jet sweeps. He can be an addition to the run game as well as a running back. He's certainly done quite a bit of that kind of work in San Francisco as well. And somebody like Arthur Smith, who runs, a West Coast style offense, Deebo Samuel is the kind of Swiss Army knife weapon that I think he would love to add as a wide receiver 2 option here in Pittsburgh. But that doesn't mean that trading for Deebo doesn't come with certain risks. First of all, you're going to have to give up probably either a 3rd, 4th, or 5th round draft pick, somewhere a mid-round draft pick in exchange for Deebo Samuel. Also, he's had some injuries in the past. He's taken a lot of hits throughout his career. He's played a lot of running back. And of course, you guys know that running backs get a lot of tread on the tires taken off in their NFL careers really quickly because of all the tough hits that they take. He's not really a separator as a route runner, so if you're looking for people that can separate versus man coverage, Deebo's never really been a true separator, and this year was probably his worst year ever on film in terms of separating against man coverage. And then the declining production is certainly something to keep note of as well. You take a look at his numbers this year. He still had a pretty darn good average at 13.1 yards per catch, but the catches went down to 51 this year. The yards went down quite a bit as well, and he didn't have nearly as many touchdowns as he's accustomed to getting. Now, to keep in mind here that this is just receiving production. He does have a production as a rusher as well in all of these seasons. But I think for a guy like Deebo Samuel, who is a former star in this league, kind of a declining star player, but doesn't have a huge contract hit in terms of the cap hit, I think that he's probably worth around a 4th round pick, give or take a round or so. Hopefully the Commanders could, or the Steelers could get him for like a 5th round pick or something like that. That would be the ideal asking price, in my opinion, for the Steelers. But in reality, I think there's going to be multiple people and multiple suitors trying to get Deebo's services because of that low cap hit that comes along with acquiring him. So I think it's going to cost at least a 4th round pick to get this deal done. So let me know down there in the comments section, would you accept this trade if you were GM Omar Khan, a 4th-round pick in 2025 in exchange for Deebo Samuel? Give me an A for accept or D for decline. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and I'm going to be breaking down our sponsor today at Prize Picks. When I'm talking about Prize Picks, find that pinned comment at the top of the comment section and let me know what you think about this trade idea. And with that, let's have word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks, which is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and more. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action all on your phone, and you guys can join over 10 million members and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can even double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. The big game is almost here, and you guys know what game I'm talking about here between the Chiefs and Eagles, and it's now or never between these two teams. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one other stat projection, you can win real cash. So, for example, guys, you guys can take the free square here on Patrick Mahomes' passing yards, and then you guys can pick another projection. And if you get the other projection right, you're a winner with Prize Picks. It's phenomenal, guys. So download the app today. It's a fantastic deal. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup when you download the Prize Picks app today. Prize Picks, run your game. So now a Garrett Wilson trade has just become more likely for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reasoning for that is that new Jets head coach Aaron Glenn says that he is open to keeping Aaron Rodgers as the starting quarterback for in New York there in East Rutherford. And that would likely mean that Wilson demands a trade out of New York, according to Ian Rappaport, who said that Wilson may request a trade out of the Jets organization if Rodgers stays. So if Rodgers does come back to play for Aaron Glenn, that essentially means that Garrett Wilson's going to be out the door and he's going to be demanding a trade to somewhere else. And why not the Pittsburgh Steelers, man? This is somebody that can come in immediately and be the long-term number 1 wide receiver option for the next decade. He's still only 24 years old. He was a top 10 pick in the 2022 NFL draft out of Ohio State, one of the more well-rounded receivers in all of football. And like I said, guys, I think this guy can come in, even in a wide receiver room with George Pickens, and potentially be the number 1 receiver in this room. He's a phenomenal route runner. He makes tough catches down the sideline. He can make one-handed crazy catches, all these different things that we've seen from him in his career. He's a former offensive rookie of the year. But he will be expensive if the Steelers end up getting him, all right? The Steelers will likely not be picking in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft if they acquire a guy like Garrett Wilson, who was a top 10 pick in his own right. And honestly, there might be so many teams trying to trade for Garrett Wilson if he's made available, it might cost the Steelers even more than a first-round pick to put him in a Steelers uniform in 2025. Now, my guess here, guys, is that once everything gets ironed out and Aaron Glenn figures out, all right, if I bring back Aaron Rodgers, who is pretty much geriatric at this point, that means I lose my superstar young stud wide receiver. I don't want that to happen. So I think that they're going to end up dumping Rodgers for Wilson, because you take a look here, and this is with guys like Zach Wilson, a declining Aaron Rodgers, all right? Terrible quarterbacks. To start his career, he's still over 1,000 yards receiving in each of his seasons. He had 7 touchdowns this past year. Of course, he won the Offensive Rookie of the Year trophy back in 2022. So this is a guy that's young. He's a star caliber talent, and he's only getting better. So the Jets would be fools to let him go at this point in his career, especially for an over 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers to keep him in at QB1. So pick a trade for me down there in the comment section. Would you rather trade a 4th-round pick for Deebo Samuel, type DS, or would you rather trade a 1st-round pick for Garrett Wilson, type DS for Deebo, GW for Garrett Wilson? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. So now there's more smoke that Russell Wilson could be joining forces with his former head coach with the Seattle Seahawks, Pete Carroll, with the Las Vegas Raiders. And the latest smoke here is that Carroll is bringing in his former offensive coordinator in Seattle that he won the Super Bowl with Russell Wilson with, Darrell Bevell, for the open OC job in Vegas. Ian Rappaport had this to say on the Insiders on NFL Network earlier this week. If the Raiders do hire Bevel, you have a proven offensive coordinator, but that's not why we're talking about this. We're talking about this because of the potential for Russell Wilson to land in Las Vegas. We know Russ and Pete Carroll have remained in contact. We know the Steelers would like to re-sign him back, but he wanted to be a Raider last year. The fact that his old offensive coordinator could land in Vegas as well kind of helps us put some of the pieces together. So when it comes to Russell Wilson, when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders, and whether or not Russ would abandon the Pittsburgh Steelers if they wanted him back to go and play for his former head coach, I think it's the most likely scenario because I think Russ definitely wouldn't mind coming back to Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers maybe wouldn't mind bringing Russ back for the right contract, but I think Russ is going to want a higher payday. I think he's going to want to get somewhere between $25 to $35 million per year on his next contract. I think that's going to be too rich for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that feels like, Justin Fields is right behind Russell Wilson in terms of where these guys are at in their respective careers, and you can pay a whole lot less for the younger and higher upside Justin Fields as opposed to bringing back Russell Wilson. So I actually think Russ's most likely destination in 2025 is the Las Vegas Raiders. There's going to be other suitors out there, and yes, he could still return to Pittsburgh, but if you ask me right now which team has the highest odds of landing Russell Wilson and where Russell Wilson lands next season, my answer is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We got my Senior Bowl notes coming up here in just a second, but we got daily Steelers videos during the week. We usually have 2 videos a day, morning and afternoon. Also, we got breaking news coverage every time Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin make a big move this offseason. Weekly live shows on Mondays and Thursdays. We're going to be going live next on Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, it's all 100% free, guys. So if you want the best possible Steelers coverage anywhere on YouTube, 100% free, this is the place for you. Click that subscribe button and join the over 75,000 strong here in the Steelers Talk family. So let's talk about the Senior Bowl here and my notes and takeaways that Steelers fans need to know from day 2 of Senior Bowl practice in Mobile, Alabama. So Coach Tomlin, was once again zoned in on the defensive tackles today. And now he did move over and talk with Arthur Smith a little bit about the receivers. We'll talk about some of the receivers the Steelers could be looking at here in just a second. But as you guys know, when it comes to the defensive tackle position, I would rather have them draft a big body nose tackle as opposed to more of a penetrating 5 technique type of player, plain and simply because I want Keanu Benton to be that penetrating 5 technique and then future 3 technique whenever Cam Hayward hangs up his cleats. And the best nose tackles available, a lot of them are not in Mobile this year. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. Keep your eye on Kenneth Grant, by the way, at pick number 21. I think that he could be a big-time draft target for the Steelers this year at his size. Great run stuffer. That's exactly what the Steelers need. Talik Williams out of Ohio State is certainly somebody to keep your eye on, as well as kind of a bigger body. But Williams and Deion Walker, the big-bodied nose tackle from Kentucky, they can have issues with pad level, all right? So that's not necessarily something that you want from your future run stuffer. You want guys to be able to keep their pads low and take on double teams. Williams and Walker do struggle with that at times. Alfred Collins out of Texas was the run stuffing unit in that excellent defense there in Austin last year. Somebody to keep your eye on here. Jamari Caldwell, we'll talk about him in a little bit. And then also there's other options out there in the later rounds to consider. But, I think the person that I'm keeping a very close eye on here is Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon. Very big body, over 340 pounds. And unlike Deion Walker, who's big but kind of light in the pants, as they like to say. And then same thing with Talik Williams, who doesn't have the best pad level as well. This is somebody that does a better job. All right, he's thicker in his lower half, and he's somebody that's more of a true nose tackle, and you can get him in the middle rounds. You don't have to spend a first-round draft pick to get the right nose tackle here in Pittsburgh. So Jamari Caldwell is somebody that I'm seriously going to be watching a lot of film on here over the next several days. Because he's somebody that has the physical profile and the scouting report that you look for in terms of a true nose tackle to plug and play. Then also Pittsburgh did take a look at the wide receivers today. Arthur Smith has been very zoned in on wide receivers and running backs for obvious reasons at the Senior Bowl. this week. And the guys that have stood out to me in the clips that we have seen and in the practice tape that has been released by the Senior Bowl, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State, I think is going to be a first-round caliber talent. I don't know if he's going to go as high as 21. I think that the Steelers can probably get a better talent than Higgins at number 21 overall. Xavier Restrepo, the slot technician out of Miami, is fantastic. Somebody that I think Arthur Smith is going to fall in love with is Jack Besh, TCU wide receiver, big body, good run blocker, a good route runner as well. This guy is a complete package of a wide receiver. He probably goes on day 2. Tez Johnson is somebody that's very light. He's under 160 pounds. But he's a great route runner. Honestly, don't love the fit between him and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's having a good week. Jalen Noel, very similar profile, fast, good route runner, but I'm not sure, with Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson already in the wide receiver room, don't know if he's the best fit. And then Ty Felton, similarly, is an absolute burner, separates down the field. But like I said, guys, these smaller receivers probably aren't going to be as high on the Steelers' radar this year. We're actually starting our coverage on our NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports, where I am going to be doing nearly daily coverage of the NFL Draft on that channel. Today we put out our day 2 practice notes. I got 14 winners and 5 losers from the second day of Senior Bowl practice. Yesterday I put out my day 1 practice notes as well. So you guys can click that subscribe button, join us over at NFL Draft by Chat Sports if you want in-depth NFL Draft coverage here from Chat Sports every single day. I am heading up our coverage on that channel this offseason, guys. So if you want more from me, more videos from Jack Sperry, you guys can figure it out right now by subscribing to the NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports. That'll be the end of today's show, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you that made it to the end of today's video. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more and more Steelers offseason coverage coming your way, getting you guys ready for NFL free agency in just a few weeks at this point. It's coming up super, super fast. So make sure you click that subscribe button. Until tomorrow, guys, here we go, Steelers.